Hello again. Happy Tuesday. So today begins, it's kind of odd, but begins, oh, no, I'm sorry. Today does not begin. We are already in. It's September 15th to October 15th. I don't know where my mind is. I don't know. Um, so we are in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month, which is, celebrates people and contributions of Hispanic Americans. You could call them Latino, you could call them, of Mexican descent, Cuban descent, Puerto Rican descent, whatever, however you want to define Hispanic. It is for those people. I'm not quite sure why it is September 15th to October 15th. I'd have to do some research on that. But anyhow, we are in that. And to celebrate that, I have some books that have won the Pura Belpré, I hope I said that correctly, award. And Pura Belpré was a Puerto Rican librarian in New York City for many, 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 many years. And when she died in 1982, they named an award after her for the best book to celebrate Latino or Latina or Latinx, whichever you prefer, culture and real depictions of that, not just what you know non-Hispanic Americans think is the experience of Latinos or Latinas. So I have 5 books, and they span a lot of they span quite a bit of time. So I think I'm going to start with the oldest one and work our way up. So, first we have an interesting book, The Poet Slave of Cuba. Now, this is by Margarita Engel, and her books are kind of easy to tell because they're all in poems. She writes books just in poems, which is an interesting way to tell a story. There are other authors who have done this as well. Catherine Hesse is one that comes to mind. She wrote Out of the Dust, which is about the Great Depression. But it's interesting because you have to pick the nuggets of the story that are the most important, and you get rid of most of the dialogue and most of the description, but it still has to tell a story. So this is about, obviously, a poet slave, or a slave who became a poet, but this was back in the 1700s, so quite a while ago. And he Juan Manzano is his name, and he was a slave, but he also was very good at poetry, and he became quite famous. Yeah, I believe he could read. I'd have to read this again. I believe he could read and write, but he wasn't given any sort of formal education beyond that, like no math, no history, geography, all the stuff that we study. So it's kind of it's not really remarkable because people have innate talent, and certainly this was one person that did. But the fact that he was able to write such beautiful poetry as a relatively uneducated slave was kind of unusual for the time. So very interesting book, and if you like the books and poems, that's the shiny Pura Prairie medal, by the way. If you like books told in poems, I would encourage you to read more of hers, or there's several other authors that do that as well. Okay, so then we have, speaking of the Great Depression, we have nope, that's the Spanish version. We have Esperanza Rising. Okay, so this is about a girl named Esperanza who lives in Mexico, but then the Great Depression hits, and they basically lose everything, and they end up coming to California as farm workers, and it's quite a change. Like, they were pretty well off in Mexico. They had a nice life, nice house, nice, fancy dresses, all that stuff, and it's all of a sudden taken away. So Esperanza has to figure out how to deal with that change in circumstances. And also, Pam Munoz Ryan is really, really great. I basically love everything she's ever written. So she's pretty cool. And I have also a Spanish version of that if you are interested, which is kind of appropriate. Okay, so then we have Return to Sender, which is, there's another shiny medal. These have all won the gold medal for this, but not all of them were purchased after they won. So if we don't have the medal on them, that's because we purchased it before it won. So this is also an interesting book. It is about a migrant family who comes to work on a farm in the United States, and the kid in the family kind of makes friends with the oldest girl in the family, and they they become friends, but he soon discovers that they may be in the country illegally. So then what does he do? And it's interesting because it is told both in story form, like chapters like we would normally have, but also in letters. Okay. So this is about 15 years old. Okay. It's told at the time it was written, which was 2005, it was contemporary. But for us it's about 15 years old. So if you were not born or if you were not alive yet in 2005, some of the stuff that they talk about may not be familiar, but you can certainly research it. And it's told both in story and in letters, so that's very cool. And then we have Lucky Broken Girl. So this is about a girl named Ruthie, and I'm not sure if it's kind of a like fictionalized biography of the author. I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe she just likes that name. But for Ruthie, Ruthie would never have guessed that being in a car accident might have been the best thing that could ever have happened to her, because she has just come to the United States from Cuba. And actually I did this backwards. I should have done this before Return to Sender, because this is set in I think the 70s. 60s, 1960s. So we should actually do that first. And she basically is completely lost. Has no idea what's going on, how to be an American, how to get along with people. But after her car accident, things begin to change, and it's very interesting. If you are an English language learner, or you are friends with an English language learner, this would be an excellent book to read, to kind of understand or connect with the experience of learning English in a new place. So very interesting book. I would, however, have a box of tissues handy. You may need it. And last but not least, this is the newest winner. Again, we got it before it won, but it's very, very cool for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's a Rick Riordan Presents. So Rick Riordan personally hand-selected this book to be published because he thought it was just as cool as his Percy Jackson books. And it's got a lot of really good, really cool blurbs on the back by authors. I love blurbs, because if I like the book, then these are authors that I might want to read, because they like the book too, and so maybe they're similar. One of them is Tui Sutherland, who wrote the Wings of Fire series. And this takes place in the third week of school, when our main character, Sal, or one of them, is in the principal's office for the third time. Okay, you should not be in the principal's office 3 times in the first 3 weeks of school. That's just not a good precedent to set. And Gabby is there because she swears she saw him put a chicken in her friend's locker, which he did, but he didn't think anybody could prove it because he didn't exactly use traditional means to do it. And that is all I'm going to say about that. If you want to figure out how he put the chicken in the locker, you will have to read the book and find out. All right, so we went a little bit over, but I think Pura Belpre and Hispanic Heritage Month is really important. We should certainly celebrate people of all descents at all times, but it is nice to kind of have a reason to spotlight them. So any of these books are available for checkout. Cohort Z, your requests are due on Thursday. So if you see anything that you like and you want to add it to your request list, please do so by then. All right. Thanks a lot, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.